Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln said, folks are usually about as happy as they make up their minds to be. So what we're going to work on in our 52 minutes that we have here today is we're going to work on all those things that we introduced on January 4th. How do we continue to perpetuate those things so the leadership that we do every day makes a difference in people's lives so that we're motivating people to be more excellent every day? And that's what I'm counting on you guys to do. You know, so many of you linked in with me immediately after the meeting, sent me nice emails. It was so flattering. I felt so good. And then, as Matt said, everything kind of stops. Everything kind of disappears. So remember, one of the reasons why I wanted you to go back to the 35 secret weapons is I knew that even that alone would force you to get some of these things back in your brain again. And you may remember I put a checklist in the packet. I hope you're using the checklist. A lot of my clients, you guys put the checklist, they laminate it and they put it, they shrink it and laminate it, put it in their wallet, or they use it as their screensaver, or they post it in their office or wherever they hang the most. Make sure you have that visual reminder. A lot of people without a visual reminder, they don't stay on target. Make sure you're using those tools to have the visual reminders. Now, we did many of the secret weapons. We spent a lot of time on energy. And remember, we made no excuses about energy. No excuse. I can't say to you, oh, you guys, I was in Costa Rica all weekend. I landed in Boston yesterday at 3 in the morning. I had to work a full day yesterday. I had one of these late at night on the West Coast yesterday. Then I had to wake up early this morning. I worked a full day. I just ran to my home office right now to get here for this. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? How do I know that one of the 100 of you didn't cancel something or shorten something that's very important to you so that you could be present for this meeting? So remember that no excuse, shut up and show up was what I told you in January. Make sure you're shutting up and showing up. Making sure you understand if you're going to model, if you're going to do what Matt said, manage a team of future leaders. Remember, that's my investment in you guys. Yeah, I want you to be excellent, but remember, it's your responsibility to make other people excellent. And that's why you bring the energy 24/7. No excuses. Now, sure, we all have downtimes. Remember what I said about a downtime? If you have a downtime, you go in your trailer, close the door, like Steve Martin on the set of Pink Panther 2. But if you're dealing with me, one of your future leaders, a customer, your life partner, remember what we said. It may not sound very empathetic, but nobody really gives a crap of what you did 10 seconds, 10 minutes, 10 hours ago. We don't really care. We want you at your best. Now, the segue to that was number 2, focus and concentration. How you doing with that? Are you staying in the moment? Are you on your phones right now as I speak to you? Did you look at somebody who just walked by while I'm speaking to you? If you are, you're developing weak focus and concentration habits. The idea is right now, all that matters to me is 100 of you. I'm right here looking in this camera. I have my notes from last month in front of me. I have Matt's notes. I took notes when Matt spoke. I have those notes in front of me. All that is about focus and concentration. Now, why do I do that? Because I'm a good guy? No. By being in the moment, in the zone, I can honor you more. I can be more excellent. How are you doing demonstrating focus and concentration? Are you carrying that into your private life? Or are you walking in the door on a business call as you walk in the door at the end of the day? And you finally get to your partner 30 minutes after you enter. No, these are muscles I want you to develop all the way. Do you order a latte at Starbucks while you're texting somebody and you only sort of look at the person who's taking your order? No, I want this muscle to be worked all the time. Remember, we called that focus and concentration. And see how sharp Matt is? Matt already talked about number 3, the breathing, the space between the notes, sticking the landing. Are you sticking your landings? Are you speaking to people and then ending? What I mean, that's just my idea. So, stick that landing, punctuate with breaths so that you can have vocal heterogeneity. Remember, right now, I'm not interacting with you. You see a little face in a screen. So my vocal performance becomes very, very important. I have to have vocal heterogeneity. That's the beauty of breaths. You store up so that you can change the volume, the speed, and the pitch. So I love, Matt, what you said about refreshing even vocabulary, because remembering something like stick the landing, like Simone Biles, helps you to do it. If you have a name for it, you do it. For eye contact, how are you doing with that? And remember, the whole section of eye contact all had to do with micro messaging as well. So micro messaging, do you remember what we said that was? What you wear. Matt's sculpted plastic helmet is a micro message. The fact that Matt calls his hair a sculpted plastic helmet is a micro message. Matt taking the time at the beginning of this meeting to honor everybody. You know, Brianna, Eric, Erica, other Brianna, Jeff, Bonnie Lee. Wow, those are huge accomplishments. And what I loved was seeing that Matt included that as part of this meeting. That's a micro message. Remember what we said, what you drive is a micro message. What you take notes in is a micro message. Do you smile? Do you not smile? Do you greet me? Do you not greet me? All those things are micro messages. Are you taking responsibility for them? Remember what we said, it's all about intentionality? If you tell me you're a kind, warm person and you thought my presentation changed your life, if you decide that at the end of it, but you never told me that, you never smiled at me during the presentation, you never tried to connect with me, and you were texting while I spoke, well, wait a minute. That behavior does not equal the person you say you are. Authenticity requires intentionality. Remember we made the actor list, the skills and talents associated with actors at the top of their game? And what we talked about was the most important skill of all those skills was authenticity. The mistake you guys people make about authenticity, have you ever heard somebody say, yeah, I'm just being myself? And they say that when they're doing negative behavior. Okay, so is yourself someone snotty, self-congratulatory, mean? Because that's how you're behaving. No, to be yourself requires intentionality. If I say my authentic self is a man who wants to make people better, to fortify leaders so that they go out and fortify other leaders, well, then I have to intentionally choose behavior that's going to make that happen. Are you doing that? Are you thinking about the behavior that you're doing? And then we segued that to 5, 6, 7 on the list, which you guys, I have so many notes about how you guys really rocked with that. A lot of you at the end of the meeting came up and gave me truthful, specific, positive feedback, TSP with a period after it. How you doing with that? When was the last time you gave anyone TSP? Remember, we're not talking TP. What's TP? Yeah, I got a whole case of toilet paper right around the corner here. It's nice. I like toilet paper. It's a good thing. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about TSP. Are you landing that specificity? Are you telling your teams why they're excellent? Are you noticing behavior? Are you calling out that behavior? Are you doing it with your partners? Are you doing it with the Starbucks barista? Are you, remember what we called it? We called it gathering beauty. Are you going out in the world and gathering beauty? That's what I asked you to do. Remember we said of the 3 letters, the S was the hardest. So I hope you're really carefully observing and listening. Remember, that's what number 8 is about. So 5, 6, 7 leads automatically to 8. Are you listening? Are you listening to people? And listen with your eyes. Are you gathering in data so that you have that data to report? And then we introduced 28 here too. Remember, a lot of you noticed that I took a gazillion notes. Well, why do I do that? I write like crazy because you guys, this is full. This is like a hotel and there's no vacancy right now. So if I put something in, well, what do I got to do? I got to take something out. And it might be things I need, like my phone number, my wife's name. So I write things down. From Matt Stevens, I'm reading. We have about 30% of the team missing goals and plans. Some did not go out and work. Others did not work in a focused fashion. Can you give some TSP on how to address missed effort or non-executed plans? I want to make sure, Matt, did you write that? We have about 35% of the team missing goals and plans. Some did not go out and work, others. Yeah, from Matt. Matt, I want to make sure I understand that. Are you saying that a third of the team did not articulate their objective and what their super objective was?
I'm saying, and I get to come off mute. I'm saying that we have about 35–40% of all the people that are working with their district managers that go out and execute and everything's fine. You have some people that are trying and just don't have the skills. And then there's maybe 35% that said they were going to do some stuff that they didn't do, that's option A, or said they were going to do some stuff and they had their cell phone out, or they worked for 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off, and they just missed their goals. They were supposed to get 10 leads and they got 4 because they didn't go out for one session, or they left early, or they just weren't focused. And everybody on this call is having to, they want to give TSP. And I listened to some of these meetings. I was listening to Ali and Monty in Minnesota, and there was a lot of positive feedback. And there's some great skills with a lot of people on this call with positive feedback. At the same time, a lot of people are having a hard time holding people accountable when they don't do exactly what they say. And I'm wondering how, and I wrote that during your TSP talk. So I know you talked about it in OC, but I wanted to bring it back in this meeting.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I think I understand you. And Matt, write something to me if I go off topic of what you just asked. See, the mistake people make about TSP, everybody, is they think it's a hug fest. Oh, I love you because of this, this, this. TSP is also my ability to nail any one of you to tell you a place where you have been deficient, where you have not carried your weight. And why I say that's still positive is, remember, everything came back to objective number 16. That what's my objective? Is your objective to punish your team when they don't achieve goals? Is your objective to make them feel bad? Is your objective to show that you're smarter than they are? Oh, I don't think any of those things are your objective. Your objective is to enrich them so that they perform better, so that they can feel better about their performance and execute better, so that the company does better and they do better as individuals. That, or something like that, or close to that, is your objective. So if you leave out where they need to get better, then you have not been responsible. So remember, I tried to model that when I was in Orange County. Was I afraid to tell people where they needed to be better? The way they were sitting, what those micro messages, if they use tone of voice. I got to call people out. That's what leaders do. Now, they do it in a way that nurtures other people, but they got to do it. Now, if you're nervous about, oh, it sounds like what Matt's implying is that you're not holding people accountable. And generally, when people don't hold other people accountable, they're afraid of confrontation, or they're lazy, or they don't know how to do it. If you're struggling, this is where we injected 22 a little bit. You ask questions. So if my team did not achieve the objectives that they articulated that they wanted to do for this week, I could say you suck and you better do that. That may or may not get results. Or I could ask them, all right, what prevented you from being successful this week? What is it that I can do to hold you more accountable so that you achieve these objectives more artfully next week? What prevented you from being excellent? How can we add to your toolbox so that your excellence gets upgraded next time? What is it that you see your biggest weakness? Now, the more I dialogue with my peeps, and the more they are writing what the accountability police is going to do. If you at them, well, then they don't own it. You want them to own it. So if they have fallen short of their objectives, they probably know that. So, all right, Matt, you've fallen short of your objectives. What is it that prevented you this week? Well, why did you fall? So I'm looking at all this stuff. Was it, Did Jacob get in your way that prevented you? What is it? So that you understand the obstacles of what the person has to say. And then when you understand their obstacles, you can help them to create tactics so that they can achieve excellence. Matt, am I misunderstanding your question? Do you want me to go in a different direction with that?
So that's what I wanted, and that's kind of what I remembered, and that's a really, really good reminder to apply the same concept to both forms of feedback. So thank you. And I do want other people to type questions into that chat bar, so please start doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
From Brianna, people tend to give up and quit on their goals because it is hard. Brianna, that is true. So we need to remind them of the bigger picture. Well said, Brianna. Brianna, make sure that you're helping them with realistic goals. So if I say to Matt, my objective in this 60-minute Zoom is to make your people the strongest leaders in the world. Well, you know what? There's a good chance I'm going to fall short of that. So one thing good leaders do is they help their teams to articulate realistic objectives. And it's not that you don't believe in them or you want to underachieve. What happens is sometimes people get overzealous and they create goals that are undoable. And then they're always disappointed because they fall short of their goals. And then that disappointment makes them down on themselves, which means they underachieve the next time. So yeah, I love what you're saying. Remind them of the bigger picture. That's really an excellent comment, Brianna, because remember what we talked about? We have objective and super objective. So my objective every time I meet with you, it'll be the same in April, the same in the summer, is that I always want you to walk away from an experience with me with a minimum of 2 ways to upgrade the way you communicate and lead. That's my objective. When Brianna says bigger picture, remember we talked about super objective? No, what super objective means is, what do I want out of life? And remember what mine was? It was number 35, that I always want every single human being with whom I come in contact to be better as a result of having interacted with me. So the objective is a subheading of the super objective. So what Brianna is saying is very good. The objective is not to make X amount of dollars this week. That there's or that might be the objective, but the super objective is something much more big, something much bigger and much richer. So if they fall short of their daily objective or their weekly objective, are they working towards their bigger objective? Because sometimes failure is an appropriate tactic to get to the bigger objective. Brianna, am I understanding the spirit of your question? Yeah, great, Brianna. That was a great question. Cody, for the kids that did have a pretty good first start, how could you use TSP feedback to get them to give me? Yeah, Cody, thank you for asking that. Does everyone, Matt, everyone sees Cody's question, right? Not just me. Do I have to read it?
Everybody can see it, but reading it was nice too.
All right, great. Cody, I love your question. See, the mistake what I love about Cody's question, everybody, is how can you use TSP feedback to get them to give even more effort moving ahead? So Cody's given in his geometric proof is the person's done a good job. So, but we want them to do better. We always want them to do better. Cody, the mistake I think a lot of leaders make is they think people get better only when you tell them what's wrong with them and that they need to fix it. I know personally that I get better when people tell me what I did well. When people say, you modeled for me how to really care about another human being when you remembered my dog's name. So this afternoon, I had a group that I haven't met with for 13 months. So you know me, I take copious, accurate notes. I keep them in a file, and then I access that file when it's time to present. So there's one guy who, like me, is a huge dog lover. And so all I did was check my notes, and he has a golden retriever named Cooper. And when I walked in and I saw him, I said, "Hey, how you doing? How's Cooper doing? Do you have any new pictures of Cooper?" When he gave me feedback at the end, he said that changed his life. That someone who cared that deeply about him, he had an experience that 13 months in between, and I still remembered his dog's name, motivated him to be much more excellent. Now, you see what he did for me, everybody? He gave me that feedback. I'm going to be even better at that next time. I'm going to take even better notes. I'm going to know even more things because that guy giving me that feedback makes me better. So You can also use questions with that, Cody. So I noticed that you remembered Michael's dog's name. Well, how are you going to build on that great skill? What are you going to do next time to even top that? Again, we go back to questions and we let our person, our team, decide a realistic thing that they want to go after. Make them own it. Oh, Andrew says we can't see his question. So I'll make sure I read it out loud. Thank you, Andrew. This is from Sean Phelps. Part of our job is training in the field. What focus is best for modeling a behavior in the field to a new trainee? For example, we talk a lot about briefing them before and debriefing after. How can our district managers maximize that time spent in the field training new team members? Sean, I'm having trouble understanding this because it sounds like you answer your own question. What focus is best for modeling a behavior in the field to a new trainee? You know, folks, you're always being watched. That if I talk about honoring people, and right now while I'm on this call with you, I answer my cell phone and text another client, well, none of the words I say are going to be important. So you got to model it. See what's happening for me, Tiffany, is I lose the question when the next person comes in. So Tiffany, can we go backwards? Can I see that question before Josh's again? No? Because I'm not sure I understood that question before. Yeah, it's from, is that David Morales' question? Oops. Oh, I see, it's Sean's question. Part of our job is training in the field. Yeah, Sean, oh, you should be able to scroll on the side of the chat box. Oh, all right. Thanks, man. I'm really stupid. Thanks. See what my skill set isn't? So if I ever do anything right with the computer, y'all, make sure you give me TSP so that I get better at this. Right now I'm being saying, oh yeah, well, I have Tiffany, so I don't have to be good at this. Yeah, Sean, tell me where I missed the boat with understanding your question. Are you way down here, Sean? Do you answer again? Oh my gosh, there's 5,000 things now, y'all. Hey, baby. Sean, I might have to come back to you so that I see who the heck is after you. I think it's Josh. Josh, one issue that I'm having around accountability is getting my team to take ownership over their results rather than making excuses. Do you have any recommendations as far as tactics go to inspire a team to avoid excuses and focus on taking ownership over their results? You know, Josh, one thing I do when people make excuses, I tell them they're making excuses. And I challenge them. I challenge them to say, okay, I'm going to be giving you feedback. And what I want you to do, here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. Even if I'm 100% wrong and you have every valid excuse under the sun, I want you to simply say thank you and go forth and work on it. Can you do that for me? Just let's really work on you saying thank you. Because when you make excuses, it sounds like you're defending your behavior. And I'm sure I make a ton of mistakes and I'm misunderstanding. Say thank you rather than feeling the need to explain. Remember, we talked about head, heart, and groin, Josh? Often those people who make excuses are heart people. And the reason they make excuses is they don't want you to think they're a bad person. And they don't want you to think they're stupid or they're lazy. So by starting, look, I understand your efforts have been sincere and earnest. I'm demanding. I want you to go to the next level. The other thing with accountability that works super well, we alluded to it earlier, let me reinforce it. If the teammate is the writer of the goals rather than you, it's much easier to hold them accountable. Because if I say you all have to come in with 30 anecdotes, gosh, that's not realistic, and all of you will have excuses why you didn't. But if I say to you, all right, so in April, what is a reasonable demand that I could have for you in April? Now, if you say that we show up, no, I'll challenge you on that. But by and large, conscientious people are going to come up with goals that are realistic. So now they're the author of the goal, you approve it, and now that's a little easier to hold them accountable for. Let's see. So that's Josh. Don Seawall. Part of our job is training in the field. What focus? Oh, we said that. Didn't we? How can our district? Oh, wait. For example, we talk a lot about briefing them. Yeah. How can our district Yes, I'm sorry. That was Sean. Oh, I see. You can compute. Oh, I get it. Parmesan said that. Why? This keeps repeating itself. Holy Mother of Christmas. Oh, Lord. This is the same thing over and over again. Shelby, this looks different. What is a good way to get them to own their failure so they can grow to do better? Just excuses, saying, I'll do better next weekend, and then not following through. Yeah, Shelby, remember, you might want to talk to them about failure and risk taking. Remember we talked about perfectionism? So you might want to share with them about perfectionists. Perfectionists live in B minus, B plus. You know, they're always good. They always show up and they do good work. They're never excellent, because excellent people have all failed somewhere along the way. We've made a fool of ourselves. We've done something stupid, really bad, because there's so much to be learned by that. And that makes us better the next time. If you've never failed, it means you're being way too cautious and you're not taking risks. Look at number 13, because number 13 was one of the ones we did not do when I was in Orange County. Number 13 is about risk taking, going outside your comfort zone. So challenge them. Ask them what's outside their comfort zone. You know, one thing I do with that, Shelby, is I did this over the weekend. I had a group from Chicago that I worked with in Costa Rica. Two of the guys I thought were superstars, very risk adverse though. They had so many skills and they really stopped themselves right here. And I said, you're afraid of failing. So what I pretty much, like a doctor, wrote them a prescription to go do an improv class. So they both live in Chicago, the epicenter of improv. I said, go out and do an improv class. I want you to, the next time I see you, I want you to have enrolled in an improvisational class in Chicago. See, the beauty of improv, it teaches you to fail. And so Matt and everybody, one of these visits, when we all get together again, I might want to do a major improv seminar with you guys, where I take you through a series of improvs, where I push you outside your comfort zone. You can do that with your teams. You can create formats for improv. It's break them into groups, make them have to present an idea quickly. At your next team meeting, put 3 people together and say, all right, you guys, I'm giving you 5 minutes, do a presentation about alligators, go. You 3, I'm gonna give you 3 minutes, give me a presentation about beach balls, go. And just make them sweat and make them come back and let them fail, let them have successes. By failing, you create a person who's gonna achieve more. And when they say I'll get better next weekend and not follow through, that goes back to the accountability thing, Shelby. There needs to be a quantifiable, a mathematical accountability item that you and the person agree on. Make sense, Shelby? Shelby, it's nice to talk to you. What's a good way to get them? Follow up on my question in field training. If you're training someone and you do a bad job, how should you address that with them? If you are training someone and you do a bad job, so it's about your own failure. Well, remember we talked about confidence, humility. I screw up today. I say, I'm sorry. I'm going to get better. This was my fault. I need to get better at this. And then do it. Model it. If it goes well, how do you make it stick? I really find reinforcing TSP. I found this as a parent, that if I kept giving my kids examples of what they did well, you know, like my son James is growing up. He was a typical little boy, you know, crazy energy, the sweetest heart under the sun. So I remember once my brother came to visit and James was really excited. He must have been 5, 6 or something. And my brother, he went to open the door. He loves my brother, opened the door, and he threw like a toy arrow at him, like just in complete joy and excitement. And it just missed my brother's eye. So I had to explain to James, hey, dude, were you thinking about what you were doing ahead of time? And so all he was doing was he was super enthusiastic and not thinking before he acted. So the next time he engaged with somebody where he had a toy in his, and he thought about putting the toy down before he engaged with the person, I made sure I called him out on that behavior. Now that's kind of a simplistic example with a child, but it's the same with our employees. Call out. if you keep a journal, I find when I keep a journal about my one-on-ones and I can tell them historically what they've done well. Like I can say, that's the third time this quarter you have in the middle of a meeting honored one of your teammates by giving them specific feedback. That's the way we're going to build our culture. That's the way we're going to do our team. I have noticed you consistently follow up with your recruits. Your recruits have been the most excellent because I notice you have a very extensive interview process where you have become like the colander of College Works, where you really sift out the bad things about people. And let me give you 3 examples of where you did that. But now that's, again, hard to retain in my brain. Keep a journal on each person. Oh, Shelby, thanks. I like seeing your responses. Let's see if I can move it. We may be at the end of this. Ooh, good. Did I miss anything, y'all? What am I missing? We're up. All right, we're up to date then, perhaps on the questions. We talked about 1 through 8. We talked a little bit. Well, 22 is review, asking questions. We talked about that before. 28 about writing down is review. 16 through 18, I keep saying that, and no one's challenged me on this. Remember I said this was the key to the city? Objectives, tactics, obstacles. Have you been thinking about this? See, all your questions that you've asked me today, I could have answered all of them with a question. I could have said, Sean, what's your objective? You say if you're training someone and you do a bad job, how should you address that with them? So Sean, I could say to you, well, what's your objective? Well, my objective is to demonstrate humility with my team so they know I'm vulnerable too and I'm good at getting better. Well, then great. Then if that's your objective, you should call yourself out, be self-deprecatory, and then make sure you improve in that category so they see how someone fails and then improves. If your objective is to make sure you're the leader and that you are beyond reproach, then don't call attention to it all. Ignore it and continue the next thing and don't even mention that you did it. It always depends on what your objective is. And folks, remember how we defined objective? Desired result. You better not be doing a recruiting, an interview without an objective. And don't ever tell me your objective is to find out things about the person. That's not an objective. Remember how we defined objective? Objective means desired result. So when I'm on my A game, y'all, I have an objective. I have an objective if I have dinner with my wife. I have an objective with the barista at Starbucks. State an objective. State it out loud. If we're successful at dinner tonight, this is what will happen. So I find if you have that sense of clarity with your peeps, and this goes back to all your questions about accountability. So if we're successful this quarter, what you will do, my objective is, by the end of this meeting, you will have a quantifiable list of things that you need to accomplish by the end of the quarter. And remember what we said about objectives, that if the group is small enough, it's a one-on-one, one-on-two, not a one-on-100, you can say, does that match what your objective is? And whether they say yes or no, you win. If they say yes, good, then let's sign off on this. If they say no, well, what's your objective? What did you want to accomplish in this meeting? Remember, we said that's objective. Now remember, to play a strong objective, you need tactics. So tactical variety we talked about. So I can't just tell stories today. I can't just give you data. I can't just answer your question. I can't just be funny. I have to be all of those things. Those are tactics. Oh, wait, Lucas, this just came up. What is the best way to develop an intern's communications skills in a professional setting with potential clients? I imagine it boils down to confidence, but how do we as managers help them develop that skill? Okay, there's some grammatical errors in here. Let's see, wait a minute. Let's make sure I understand this, Lucas. What is the best way to develop an intern's communication skills in a professional setting with potential clients. I hope I'm understanding that, Lucas. So Lucas, you're trying to develop a list. So you're trying to make this very structured for your team so that you teach which is the incorrect word here, because this is not good grammar. Lucas, can you rewrite that so I understand it? Sorry, I'm being dopey, but I don't get that. Wait a minute, Jacob, you said role play the improv thing that he just talked about. Hell, you guys, do you know how to write? For crying out loud. It's a problem with texting. We never worry about grammar, but I can't understand this. Jacob, I think you're saying that improv is a tactic. If you're responding to Lucas, Jacob, I agree with you. Lucas, you know, I hate the term role play because people roll their eyes. It sounds so cheesy. But sometimes, you know, like a lot of my clients will say, I'm not good at holding somebody's feet to the fire. So then what I do is I make them sit down with somebody in the team, and I make them do it. And I watch them. And I let the team comment on what they did well and what they didn't do well. So improvisational activities where you get people to, I'll say it, even though we hate the word, role play. So the problem with role play is you got to make it authentic. Your teams are not professional actors. So you have to make a real scenario. Give them the scenario, tell them the given circumstances, and make them play it and make them respond. That often helps people because other people see what they do well and what they don't do well and can tell them. I think, Lucas and Jacob, I'm understanding you. If I went way off topic, Lucas and Jacob, can you write to me and tell me how I screwed up so I can better help you? Remember, the third word in the triad of objectives and tactics was obstacles. What prevents you from being excellent? What prevents you from getting what you want? Sometimes articulating the obstacle helps. Where people are weak is when they play the obstacle as the objective. So my back hurts today. So then that's what this whole Zoom is about. My back hurts. Don't bother me. No, that's the obstacle. That's not the event. There are things that happen that get in our way. When you know your obstacles, you can pick tactics. So if I know my back hurts, I choose a different chair for this interaction. If I'm sleepy, I stop at Starbucks before I come here so that I'm highly caffeinated. So when you understand your obstacles, you choose tactics that help you win your objective. Lucas and Jacob, if you wrote more, I'm not seeing it. So help me if I miss the boat. Thank you guys for writing so much and responding here. It's much better for me to honor what you need rather than for me to do a data dump. Let me see what else we did that we didn't review while I'm waiting for that. How are you doing multitasking? That's related to focus and concentration. Make sure that you're all in. Remember, we talked about the word immersion. Immerse yourself into the moment. That's important to do. Let's see. How should district managers work with their interns? Yeah. Oh, Lucas, you rephrased it. Thanks, brother. That was good, Lucas. Yeah, thank you for like placating my stupidity. Because Lucas, that helps. And Lucas, the improv thing, how should district managers work with their interns in developing their communication skills? I think that's something you could easily do. Lucas, you could have the skill to develop improvs with your team, to have them do. Remember that talking and listening exercise we did? I would do that with them, for example. To remind you, what we did was I broke everybody up into pairs, and I had one person be the talker and the other person the listener. And what I had the talker do is tell the listener everything that they were excellent at, and the listener had to listen. Then we reversed roles. Then we came back and I made you play the person you listened to. So you had to, remember, Sabrina played Eric. You guys did a great job with this. Caden played Ty. And then you came back and you were that person. So then you had to represent that person. And then what I did was I gave you feedback about the excellence of how you communicated. Lucas, if you have specific things you want to work on with them, that's a great way of doing it. I did the talking and listening reacting game with my interns at Icebreaker during the team start, and it was a home run. Woohoo! Don, that's music to my ears, brother. That's good because see, you personalize it. That's not stealing everybody. That's, Allosso does something, you do your version of it to win your objectives, I'm proud of you, man. That's awesome. Ooh, wait, some wicked long thing just came. Wicked long means wicked long. That's Boston talk. Hey, did I mention to you guys we won the World Series and the Super Bowl? Did I mention that? And we've won 4 World Series in the 21st century. And we've been in 6. We've won 6 Super Bowls, and we've been in 9 out of 18 Super Bowls. Did I mention that? I just thought I should. Let's see what you wrote. What could be more important than the Patriots or the Red Sox? Oftentimes when an intern underperforms, they provide a reason, excuse for it. Where I know. I typically combat it by relating to it and letting them know I understand how they are feeling and where they're coming from. The instance I'm referencing, wait. The intro is when an intern did not work on one of the days they were supposed to work on, did not contact me until a day or 2 after, and provided the excuse that he was just so overwhelmed in school that he could not go out to do the duties he was supposed to. This makes me angry. I find myself often relating to them, and I'm wondering if you think this is setting a bad precedent, aka using the fact that I've done the same thing to justify their actions. For example, I respond to him telling him this: I get it. I've been in the same situation before. I just wish you would have asked my help so that we could have made a plan to make sure we both, I lost it. Overall, what are your thoughts on using this tactic of relating to them? I'm torn between if this can be beneficial or just the opportunity to validate their underperformance. First of all, who the heck wrote this? Whoever wrote this, your writing is the best in the whole company. That is so beautifully written. I just want to read this over and over again. It's gorgeous. Excellent writing. I do, and I'm sorry, I can't see who wrote this. Who wrote that, you guys? Just let me make sure I know, because I wanna focus on them. It says from Jack. Who did it? Jacob something. Nick just wrote Jacob something. Well, Jacob something, Jacob DePaul. Jacob DePaul, you rock, big guy. That is like super. Jacob, I have a very strong opinion about that. I actually think that's an excellent tactic. Now, I get your hesitation about it, because absolutely you're right. You don't want to say, yeah, I did it, so you're excused. You want to say, I did it, and it was not successful. I did that. I regretted it afterwards. I find that a great leadership tactic, though, Jacob. I have to admit that if you can highly empathize with your peeps and you say, I know exactly how you feel, I've been there, but make sure that as clear as you empathize with them, that you're saying that it did not have great results. And so you understand, but it's now, how do we get so that doesn't happen again? Because frankly, that's inexcusable behavior. That pisses me off. I have a low tolerance for those people. I have a couple of acquaintances who've done that in my life, and I'll tell you straight up, Jacob, I'd fire them. I mean, I just think that's freaking rude. We make an appointment, we make an agreement, you don't show and you don't even call. I mean, that's just plain old manners. And I think you have to nail someone between the eyes and say, that's just completely inexcusable. I think you have to go to groin in those moments. Now, if you want to mix groin with heart, and the empathy piece is heart, I did the exact same thing. I'm okay as long as we include the groin with it as well. But that is not acceptable behavior. That's not who we are. It's not our core values. It's not in keeping with our mission statement. Jacob, yeah, I love that you're asking that. That I think is a powerful tactic for all of us. When you can say to a person, I totally understand that, I can identify with it. I've had challenges like that in my life. I think it makes them feel like you're not judging them, that you're more equals rather than the superior God. Did I skip something, y'all? While we're out in the field with one intern, we still have to stay in communication with our other interns. What is a good tactic for making sure everyone is feeling valued enough while we're trying to balance everyone at once? You know, I say love the one you're with. Shelby, that's from you. Shelby, one thing that would work for you is that you have to have a clear understanding of beginnings and ends of meetings. So what works for me, Shelby, is if I say, look, Shelb, I got 2 minutes. That's all I got for you. I apologize ahead of time. You're worth a heck of a lot more than 120 seconds. So let's rock in these 120 seconds because I have to check in back with the other interns that aren't here. So let's rock. Now, in those 120 seconds, 3 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever you allot, none of the other interns exist but that human being. But by you putting a lid on it at the beginning and saying, this is all I got, that clarifies the expectations. And now we know the obstacle of the meeting. So now we can choose tactics to win our objective. Shelby, that's an excellent question. Jacob, I still love you. Your name keeps coming up. What are some tactics that we as managers can do to help interns reduce stress? What? Tactics. What are some tactics that we as managers can do to help interns reduce stress and focus on the objective at hand? That's a fair question. Sometimes these people who exhibit lots of stress need to be eliminated. I know that sounds unkind, but your business, if little things make them stressed, they're probably not good candidates. Now, we all experience stress. I don't mean to be harsh about that. I find this again, people experience stress when they set objectives that aren't realistic. And this is where you might talk to them about head, heart, or groin. Head people are the best about not experiencing stress. Heart people are the worst. But head people, because I'm a dominant heart, but I've gotten real good with stress. And the reason I have is that my mom and my wife, both heart people, they live in stress. Peggy, if I don't call her when I land at the airport, she immediately assumes the plane has crashed, that I have died, that hijackers have taken me to a country and have put a bag over my head and are going to shoot me now. I go to the airport, I allow enough time, I'm sitting in traffic, I might miss the plane, I don't stress. Here's how I don't stress. I ask myself, what's the worst thing that could happen? And unless it's death to my family, you know what? If I miss the plane, I'll figure it out. I won't be the first human being on God's earth to have missed the plane. So with those folks, you might want to encourage them to use more head and then make sure that we're not choosing objectives that deliberately stress them. They might need objectives that are less competitive. And that's okay at the beginning. But if the stress constantly prevents them from achieving, they may be bad casting choices. We also know that number 3, breathing, helps us with stress. We have 5 minutes, everybody. Matt, do you want to monitor how we use these last 5 minutes?
I think you're doing a great job. I think the bounce back and forth between the questions and the page is good. And I'll make my interjection real quick, and that is that I think everybody should. We're going to get little handouts of the checklist. But the checklist is on page 13 of their book. It's on the back of the 35 secret weapons. And I don't think it's a bad idea for people to take a screenshot of that and maybe before their Monday meetings review those 2 pages, as well as read their notes from this session and the other session that we had with you in Orange County. I do really appreciate everybody that participated with questions and was on the call. And thank you very much for making time for the call as well, Michael. But I'll let you wrap it up the way you see fit.
Matt, do you see what Kyle wrote? Hey, Michael, you just boasted about the New England Patriots. Tell us about the leadership qualities of Mr. Robert. Oh, Patriot haters everywhere. Kyle, you son of a bee. Good thing your numbers are up, man, or I'd dissect you. He's an old man. Be thankful his thing still works. Here's the thing. We don't know all the data yet about Mr. Robert Kraft. He has flawed. What I'm hoping he'll do, Kyle, is I'm hoping he will do exactly what I said earlier, that he'll have a press conference where he says, I'm an idiot. I really screwed up. This is not the way a leader should behave. I apologize. I don't think we should lose 12 draft picks because of it. I don't think I don't know what he did yet. Human trafficking is inexcusable. Knowing Robert Kraft the way I do, I don't think he knowingly participated in human trafficking. So I know you're being glib and facetious, but it's all I've been dealing with, Kyle, because it happened when I was in Costa Rica with the Chicago people, and those poor, pathetic Bears fans, which I know some of you out there are, they're so wounded and they're still talking about 1985 because they can't move forward into the future, that they just killed me with this. At first, I thought they were lying. First, I said it was fake news, and then I read it. Kyle, I love you. I deserve that because we're so braggadocious in Boston. Here's what I want to leave you with, everybody. Matt, every time you speak, you say cogent, potent things. You're really excellently economical with the speech that you do, Matt. And Matt models all these things. Now, I'm not with him every day like you guys are, but when I'm with him, Matt models all these things. He models self-deprecatory humor. He models confidence. He models generosity. He models a lot. He models a sculptured plastic helmet. He looks better than everybody. He's so good looking. We know all that. Here's the thing, everybody. You should put down 2 things that your team can hold you accountable for. And Matt, I don't care how this is gathered. Everyone can send it to Matt, to themselves, to me. But there should be 2 things that in April when we meet, I should be able to ask each of you, did you do the 2 things you said you did? Make it specific. Because I want to leave you with this. Today is the anniversary of the Supreme Court confirming and supporting the amendment that gave women the right to vote. So I wanted to leave you a thought from a famous woman, because we have so many powerful women throughout history who have shaped our lives and made a difference. And one for me is Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa said, "Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile." What I love about this, you guys, is she starts with an objective. Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Then she goes to the vision, the super objective. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Then she gives us 3 tactics. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile. Remember, every move you make is being measured and received by your team. You are held accountable for all of those things. Go forth and make a difference.